all the lies they told you, all the doubt they fed you, all the fear they gave you, all the disdain they showed you was a projection of what they'll never be, and a reflection of what you will become.
I'm gifted life, I'm here now. I can't control what, but I'll resolve how. Captain of my ship, when the wind's no show, I can't control the wind, so hands on deck and go. Smooth sailing, it's not a prize. Delusions for the weak, and I live real life. I'm not a pig, I won't live in mud. I'm a champion, a mesh of will and blood. I point my finger, but I choose my fist, and I beat my chest, and I'll take life's hits, and with my mouth I will drink my tears and declare it's war. I'm not ending here. I'm not ending here. I'm not ending here. I'm not ending here. I'm not ending here.
Yeah, baby. What's up, y'all? It's your guy, Tommy D here, and welcome to another episode of Shatter All Restraints, a show where we're going to crush excuses. We are going to beat the living hell out of any self-doubt that's been holding you back, and we're going to live the lives we were meant to live. So, quick disclaimer, as always, I'm not a medical professional, nor do I have any kind of certification in mental health. I'm just an everyday average Joe who's been through his share of traumatic experiences and gained a ton of knowledge and behavior modification. So today, I've been looking forward to this episode, guys, because today we're going to talk about alcohol and drug addiction, something that I struggled with for a long time. I'm going to address people that have loved ones that are struggling. I'm also going to be addressing those of you who are struggling with drug and alcohol addiction. That's the whole point of me starting this. I found my way to shore. Now I want to try to help others get there. So, where to begin? So, I'm just going to start out how I wound up going down this road. This is right around the time that my mom was still around. But there was one day, her and I, we were going out looking at houses, and I just had like this really, really, really bad toothache. So I got a hold of the dentist, and he's just like, oh my God. He's like, oh boy, this sounds like a root canal. And that tooth to this day was right here. I don't have it anymore. Anyway, he prescribed me a thing of penicillin and a prescription of Vicodin. So I think you see where this is headed. I mean, prior to this, I would drink, and I smoked pot here and there, but pot wasn't really doing anything for me anymore. And drinking I did just for fun. When people heard that I had a prescription of Vicodin, people were coming up to me and saying, oh man, I'll buy them from you. I'm like, no, I'm not a drug dealer. So finally I asked somebody one day, I was like, what is it about Vicodin and Percocet that all you guys are like losing your shit about? And they're just like, oh man, it's a high that I can't describe. And I said, all right, whatever. So one night, stupid thinking, I was just sitting there watching a movie, and that pill bottle was up on the fridge, and I just said, all right. So I popped a couple just to experiment. And at first I didn't feel anything, and then after about a half hour or so, they started to kick in. And y'all, for me, it felt like I was on cloud nine. And like I said in my previous episode, if you are somebody that takes painkillers and you can't stand it because it upsets your stomach and it just makes you feel sleepy, thank God for that, because that is a gift. Some of us don't get that. Right away, I found out what the big deal was about painkillers and why people were being addicted to them. And of course, I wasn't addicted. No. I was just experimenting. Oh yeah, well, what about the last 2 weeks? The pills you've been getting off the street? Oh no, that's nothing to worry about. Don't worry. Complete denial, man. That's just how us addicts live. So fast forward, it started out like I would do like 1 or 2 a day, and then it moved up to 6. And yeah, I started to the point where I was buying them off the street. Yeah, it had me. So yeah, I mentioned in the last episode the conversation I had with my mother before she passed away. And, she basically saw this version of me back then, and she said, you got so much to offer this world, and you really need to come out of your shell. And the only way I found that was through drugs and alcohol. And that's exactly how I felt with painkillers. It would get to the point where, I mean, those of you who smoked weed before weed practically became legal, we got our times where business is good on the street, and then there's times where everybody's dry and you can't find a damn thing. And it's actually even worse with when you're buying painkillers off the street, because it goes on for a while. So for me, whenever I couldn't get anything, I'd just start drinking. And I'm not bullshitting you guys when I say that I'm lucky to be here today, because if you're one of these couples that goes out with another couple, you have some drinks, you laugh, blah blah blah. The next day, yeah, man, that was fun. We should do it again in another 6 months, and it winds up being 3 years later. Yeah, I mean, for me though, I would start drinking when I woke up, and I would get up and I've always been an early bird, so I'd be up at like 5 a.m. drinking. I'd probably pass out at about 11:30, right around lunchtime. I'd wake up at 3 and I would start again. And sometimes I woke up in unfamiliar places. One thing I tell people is, as far as I'm concerned, this is just my opinion, but painkillers, it's heroin. And a lot of people will tell you that heroin's like the deadliest drug out there. It is brutal, because that shit owns your ass unlike any other drug. But I personally think alcohol is the worst because it's so accessible. I mean, that's what I would turn to when there was no painkillers. So for me, yeah, I mean, I would drink all day, every day, unless I had to work. If I had to go to work, I would go to work with the shakes and the sweats all day. I couldn't drink when I was at work because I was a sloppy drunk, and it would be written all over me. So that went on for years. So I told you guys my sobriety birthday was 10/7/12. So fast forward to that year, it was around like May when there started to show signs. So actually, I got to backtrack a little bit here. Those of you who know somebody who's struggling with alcohol addiction, or if you yourself are looking for signs that you're starting to struggle, if you're at work all day and all you're thinking about is that cold beverage waiting for you in the fridge, yeah, that's a sign. That's a really bad sign. So get away from that as soon as you can. Because those 2 beers are going to turn into 6 beers. That 6-pack is going to turn into a 12-pack. That 12-pack is going to turn into a 30-pack. And eventually that 30-pack's not going to be enough. So you're going to turn to Jack Daniels, which is a hell of a lot more expensive and sucks a lot more money out of your bank account. And that's just alcohol. So yeah, it was right around May of 2012. When payday came, my check was gone, because it would be paying. It's like 20 back to this one, 20 back to this one, 20 back to this one. I would always be bumming money to buy booze because I would run out. It was probably about mid-May where I would run out of booze on like a Tuesday. And normally I would think something along the lines of, oh man, I gotta bum $20 from somebody. I'm not gonna have any booze for tonight. And it was around that time I would run out, and then I'd be like, oh well. And then of course Friday would come around, I would get paid, and that's the first place I would go, is buy a 30-pack or buy a pint of Jack. And eventually, I wasn't looking forward to it anymore. It just got to the point where Friday night I'd be sitting around and drinking to get drunk, but the excitement for it wasn't there anymore. And then over the last several months, I started contemplating, what if I was able to walk away? And there were things that scared me about walking away, which I'm going to cover a little bit later on. But October 7th rolled around, and that day I decided not to turn into the liquor store. And that was it. I want to address a few different people here. I want to address the ones that have a negative impact, the ones who have a positive impact on loved ones that are struggling with addiction. And then I want to address the people struggling with addiction themselves. Okay, so first of all, the ones I want to address first are the ones that have a negative impact on people. And we all got that family member who's judgmental. So first of all, anyone who judges somebody, anybody who's taken that first drink, okay? If you judge someone in your family who's a drunk or an addict, that's very hypocritical, because fate could have chose you instead of them. You are not better than them. You are just more fortunate. The only difference between you and them, you don't have that slippery slope and that orbital pole pulling you down. So if you're that guy or gal that says, I'm not letting that junkie into my house, I don't want anything to do with that piece of shit, I'm disowning them, respectfully, shut your fucking mouth. For those who want to have a positive impact, the ones who want a better understanding and want to be more educated, bad news first. You cannot change anything. They have to want it. You do not want to enable them in any way. You do not want to give them any money. You do not want to give them anything of value. Because as addicts, we are programmed to get money for our next fix. That is our whole day. When we're not sleeping, that's all we think about. I want to say a while back, it was a musician that described heroin, and couldn't have described it better. With heroin, you could be at rock bottom living on the street. As long as you got that stuff floating through your veins, it feels like the best day of your life. And that's how you get hooked. But anyway, for those who want to have a positive impact, as far as interventions, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But there isn't a threat you, the police, or even a judge can make to make them stop. You have to want it. They have to want it. So if you got that close friend or a loved one that's telling you what you want to hear, oh yeah, I've been in rehab and I've been doing this and I have this job opportunity and I'm making all kinds of friends in the... You got to turn that noise off, because as addicts, we are very pathological. And we will tell you anything and everything we think you want to hear to get what we can out of you, whether it be $50, whether it be borrow your car, so that you can't listen to. The truth is, you stop because you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, okay? To give you a better perspective on where I was at, I was about 4 months in, and one day I was at Walmart, and I ran into a close friend of mine. He was one of very few people who knew that I stopped drinking. I didn't want to tell a lot of people, and this is something I strongly recommend for anybody who's going through alcohol is, I don't care, even if you're giving up smoking cigarettes, don't tell a lot of people, because then if you have a slip or if you relapse, now you got to answer to all those people. They're going to be like, oh, you're still not, and then you got to be like, well, yeah, just when you're fighting off this machine, the last thing you need is more pressure. So, just keep it between you and people that have a positive impact, but keep that circle small. Anyway, this was my buddy Gordon that I ran into, and he and I were just talking for a little bit, and he said, you still not drinking? You still not using? I said, yeah. He's like, awesome, man. How long has it been? I don't know, about 4 months. He's like, that's awesome, brother. And I'm just like, man, don't count me out yet. And that's literally how I felt. Even though I was 4 months in, I was just like, man, don't count me out yet. And he understood. And speaking of Gordon, I'm hoping one day that I can help him get his story out there, because if you think mine is impressive, what I bounce back from, you got to hear his. So shout out to my buddy Gordon. I want to say, once I hit the 1 year mark, that's when I knew I wasn't going back. And it was a great feeling. Did it still haunt me? Of course. It still haunts me to this day. Sometimes I have dreams at night that I'm at a party and I have a beer can in my hand, and I'll be like, well, this doesn't count against my sobriety, does it? And then I wake up and I'm like, thank God. And it always cracks me up too when I go to, when I hear people say things like, yeah, man, I'm not doing that shit anymore. Now I just smoke. I'm like, smoke as in weed. And then another thing I'll share with you. I remember I was at my cousin's wedding one time, and I run into a guy that was there, and he was like, hey, man, I got 6 months of sobriety too. I'm like, awesome, man. That's good to hear. And like 20 minutes later, he's got a beer in his hand. I'm like, dude, the fuck are you doing? He's like, oh, today's a special occasion. I'm like, no, dude, that's not how this works. And long story short, that guy wound up getting thrown out later on. So yeah, guys, the only way you stop is, like I said in my last episode, the only way you break that orbital pole is you get pissed off. You're like, I'm done. I've had it with this. And this does not happen with just drug and alcohol abuse, man. This happens with people with finances. This happens with relationships. This happens with jobs. And speaking of jobs, I have seen people walk away from their job of 28 to 35 years when they have like retirement right around the corner. And people are like, why didn't you just hang in there? You didn't have much time left to go. And their response could not have possibly been better. They said, because if I stayed, I would not be able to enjoy retirement or the quality of life that I have now. So yeah, as I said, I mean, after I hit 1 year, I knew I wasn't going back. And somebody one time asked me, they said, you think you're ever going to have a beer for old time's sake? Just to show yourself you can have one and walk away that easily? And I said, no. I said, that doesn't make any sense to me. I says, number one, I'm extremely dedicated to my sobriety. And two, if I did, that'd be throwing my sobriety away. I mean, it's been 13 years. If I had a beer right now, I'd be throwing that away. I'm not doing that. And he goes, well, why, man? And so this guy had an ex-girlfriend that was a walking nightmare. I don't want to mention her name, but she was one of those types, if you didn't tell her what she wanted to hear, she would make your life a living hell. I mean, the type that would give herself a black eye and then call the police and say, he did that to me. And that literally happened a couple of times to this friend of mine. And I'm like, so just to give him a better perspective, I said, for me to have a drink now, that would be like me telling you to call I'd be like, hey, you know your ex so-and-so? Ugh, yeah. Why don't you give her a call? Why don't you take her out to lunch? Why don't you guys catch up? If I said that to you, what would you say to me? I would say, well, yeah, I can do that, but why am I doing this? I said, exactly. So to my brothers and sisters out there that are still drowning, I'm sure some of you are out there are thinking, how am I going to know when I'm done? How do I know what are the signs for me? And I want to say the best example that I can give you, if you guys never seen the movie Flight that stars, it's Denzel Washington, John Goodman, and Kelly Riley. In the beginning of the movie, Kelly Riley is on the phone with her drug dealer. She dials a number, and as the phone's ringing, she's like, please don't pick up. Please don't pick up. Please don't pick up. That's how you know you're done. It's got you, but that string is still attached, and you're just waiting for that string to get cut. I know what some of you are thinking, especially us alcoholics. You're thinking, how's life going to be the same? When I go to a wedding, I'm drinking. When I go to a sporting event, I'm drinking. When I go to a pig roast, I'm drinking. Because that's all you know, and life will not be the same. But it is imperative that you take that walk through hell to find your way to heaven. Once you find the light through all that darkness, you're going to realize that a lot of the things you did under the influence weren't really that important to begin with. The second thing is, once you reach that point of sobriety, where I got to my 1 year mark and I realized I wasn't going back, just like in a video game, you unlock a whole new character. A character that people have never seen before, and someone that you didn't even know existed. And once that happens, the possibilities are endless. I mean, I told you guys in my last episode that when I stopped drinking, I had a talk with the big guy in the sky, and I told him, I says, I need to see results out of this right away. And basically my goals were small at the time. I just wanted to book a vacation faster. I wanted to get the kids better Christmas presents, and I just wanted to pay my damn bills on time. If you were to tell me years later that this whole mess would have been cleaned up and that I was going to be a real estate agent and that I would even be doing this, I would have laughed in your face, because truth be known, I mean, aside from being an addict, I'm also an introvert. You know, I'm typically the guy who sits in the corner of the room and doesn't say a fucking word to anybody. But I had to find a way to break that. And how do you break it? It's all repetition, man. You just keep practicing. One last thing. I was so focused on getting straight that I literally watched the parade go by. I mean, looking back, I kind of wish I relished all that time getting sober, because I realize now that those were some of the best days of my life. But as I said before, all my focus was on getting clean. And for you guys, it's going to be the same exact thing. But you're going to have to take that first step. Is it going to be hard? Yep. Is it going to be scary? Yep. One of the best things you can do is get away from it. So the first thing I want you guys to do is go look in the mirror, look at yourself, and tell yourself that I'm better than this and I deserve a better life than this. Because you do. Secondly, get help. There are places all over that you can go to check in. There's people that you can reach out to online. You can reach out to me if you want. And 3, surround yourself with the right people, man. Surround yourself with loved ones who want to see you get better, and also make sure that they get educated about the program, about addicts. You know, AA is not just for people that are struggling with addiction. It's also for people who want to know a little bit more about it because they have that friend or that loved one who's struggling. And just one day at a time, man. One day at a time. Because I don't want you guys to miss the parade. I want you guys to relish this time getting sober and getting on that right path. And the ones that always doubted you, prove them wrong. Show them who the fuck you are. Because you're better than this. All right, guys, that's all I got for this week. I hope this video was helpful. Like I said, you can always reach out to me. My email's below. Next week, I'm going to be talking about personal development, jobs, all that kind of stuff. If you want to view more of my content, hit like and subscribe. And we'll see you next week. Take care, y'all.